I welcome you to this Design Culture Learning Series, an initiative by Design Culture Department here at Arch. We are excited to offer this unique opportunity for you all to witness this master class from 12 renowned speakers. And this will be based on the different topics of creativity, society, harmonious livability, and design identity. So this series is designed to help you explore different perspectives and gain valuable insight into the world of design culture. We hope that these sessions will inspire you to think creatively and expand your knowledge and further passion for design. So continuing this week of the learning series with creativity, our master speaker for today is Mr. Kapil Sharma, who is a graphic designer and a visual artist who comes from a family of traditional Rajasthani miniature artists. He is the sixth generation artist in his family. Kapil sir pursued his studies in visual communication at the National Institute of Design, where he honed his skills as a graphic designer. Later, he developed a keen interest in contemporary art and design and began to combine the techniques of miniature master with the aesthetic sensibility of an early modernist. Later on, he founded StudioFunc, a collaborative space for art and design that aims to create a unique language that is both contemporary and globally recognized. Over the years, he has established himself as a specialist in branding, illustration, design for print and motion graphics. In addition to this, his work as a graphic designer, he has also been a visual artist who has participated in several exhibitions across the nation. So his innovative approach has earned him a widespread recognition and appreciation from art enthusiasts, museums, and collectors all around the world. So I welcome Kapil sir to this session and ask him to take away with the session. Thank you, Kapil sir.
Thank you, Uday, for the lovely introduction. I'll be talking about contemporary vernacular and my personal perspectives and design practice. So basically, almost like for like a decade and so, like my design practice and how it translated right from the very beginning. I'm extremely thankful for Arch College of Design and Business for giving me this opportunity. So really thanks a lot. Showing you my work, let's talk about what exactly is vernacular and what is visual vernacular. So a visual vernacular is a visual language that is associated with a particular time, place, event, or group. It goes beyond just using interesting color combinations and patterns and has the power to represent deeper meanings related to style, belief system, geographic region, time, period, or cultural directions. So now it's a visual reference of zeitgeist and characterizes the image that comes to mind when referring to any of these specific things. So it's like a language all its own that allows group and cultures to express their identity and communicate with others who share the cultural context. So it can be seen in many different forms, such as clothing style, be it architecture or graphic design, advertising, music, many other places. So basically, when we talk about contemporary vernacular graphic design, so it's the style that combines, again, traditional elements of local culture, has a very local flavor to it, and tradition with modern design techniques and trends. So it seeks to create a balance between preserving cultural heritage and creating designs that are relevant and appealing to a contemporary audience. Now, again, this style of graphic design is characterized by use of bold colors, geometric shapes, modern typography combined with traditional motifs and patterns. So the result is a design that is both familiar and fresh, drawing on the past while looking towards the future. Now, this is something which is very important. So it should look very futuristic. So you could probably say futuristic antique or something, you know. So again, it's often used in branding, advertising campaigns for businesses that want to connect with local audience. For example, if you'll see like Swiggy or the campaigns that they run, it's like, again, it uses a very vernacular language. So by incorporating elements of local culture and tradition into their design, businesses can create a sense of authenticity and establish a deeper connection with the customers. Now, if you'll see on your extreme left-hand side, this beautiful work by Olympia Zagnoli. Now, she has like this really colorful and playful design that incorporate elements from Italian culture. So this is like one of the really great examples. Now, another great example by this graphic designer, Lulu Kitololo from Kenya. Now, again, she used like a very language that inspired from her rich cultural heritage background, but the work is like extremely contemporary and refreshing. Again, it's a testament to the enduring power of local culture and tradition in a globalized world, and is a style that will continue to evolve and adapt to changing trends and technologies. Now, so what are the benefits of vernacular design? One of the main benefits of vernacular design is that it helps to create design that are more authentic and culturally relevant. You associate much more closely by incorporating, local materials, techniques, typography, beat patterns, motifs. So designer can create designs that resonate with local community and are reflective of their culture and identity. So it also showcases unique perspectives and experiences of different communities by incorporating design elements that are unique to a particular culture or community. Designers can create designs that are inclusive and representative of diverse perspectives and experiences. So this inclusivity is something which is extremely important, because otherwise a larger segment just like, doesn't get to understand like what exactly like this design language is talking about. It's a left out segment. Now, it also helps to promote diversity and inclusivity in design, as I said, by incorporating design elements from different cultures and communities. And finally, vernacular design helps to preserve and celebrate local cultures, traditions, and identities by incorporating design elements that are unique to a particular culture or community. Now, some examples of vernacular design in contemporary graphic design. So, let's talk in context of India. So India is again like country with a diverse range of languages and script. So by incorporating typography that is unique to a particular language or script, designers can create designs that are more authentic and culturally relevant. Also, like, use of traditional patterns and motifs, again, like a lot of cultural references, because India is a diverse country with a multitude of culture and region. So by incorporating cultural references, one can, really play around with the idea. Then incorporating local materials and techniques, like in our context, like we have so many traditional art and craft. So like, maybe incorporating embroidery or block printing, or, one of those kalamkari, or traditional Indian miniature art. Like there's so many different examples. So one can really create like stunning contemporary works by getting inspired from these techniques. So overall, the wealth of vernacular design inspiration to be found in India's diverse cultural heritage by incorporating these elements into their design with sensitivity and respect. Designer can create designs that are more authentic, culturally relevant, and representative of diverse perspectives and experiences. Creating these, there are many challenges like when you're working with vernacular designs. So the few which I feel are like really important to keep in mind is like one of the biggest challenge in incorporating vernacular design is avoiding cultural appropriation or stereotyping. So at times like we stereotype stuff and it doesn't really go well. So it is important for designers to understand and respect the culture they are representing, and to avoid perpetuating stereotypes or using culturally insensitive imagery. Now, this requires a certain amount of research and sensitivity to cultural differences. Now, in addition to avoiding stereotypes, designers also need to ensure that their design accurately represent the culture they are drawing from. So they need to make sure that their designs are appropriate and respectful of cultural norms and values. Now, this again requires a close collaboration with local communities and experts to ensure that the design is culturally appropriate and accurate. So one needs to do proper R&D, proper research before, even dabbing into the subject. So for that, like you work closely with local communities to incorporate their perspective and feedback. What do they think of a certain motives or certain elements or certain anecdotes, etc. Design often draws from traditional art and design techniques, which can be seen as old-fashioned or outdated by some audience. So designers need to find a balance between tradition and modernity. So incorporating traditional element in a way that is relevant and engaging to contemporary audience. So even if you're using very basic Indian driven motifs and all, like usually people get overboard. So using motif on wrong places never really works, though it looks Indian. Designers may need to incorporate vernacular design elements from cultures which they are not familiar and may not speak the language. Now, this can be challenging as it requires finding ways to communicate effectively with local communities and experts and to understand the nuances of the language and culture. I'll start showing you my work, but before that, I'll go back in time capsule. So this is actually one of my first projects when, so this was actually my final diploma project in college. So what I was trying to do at that point, it was the period, it was around 2000 when there was this whole grunge design scene, and it was post-modern. So you had designers like David Carson who were changing the rules in design, break design, break the layout, no, there is nothing called grid, though he used the grid, but it sounded like that. And at that point, I'll also talk about a bit of my background. So, I am coming from a traditional miniature family background where predominantly in my childhood, for the first few years, I mean, for almost 5-6 years, I thought everyone around me was an artist, or I've grown up like that. So I thought this is the only profession that exists. There's no other profession, but people just paint and they relax and chill. Being from, and then again coming from a traditional family background where you have a guru shishya parampara where the information is on to you, so all the techniques and the way the teachings are there. So it's almost like I got it from my father and grandfather. So I'm the 6th generation in the family. So from these two, I got to know about art and design to a certain extent in general. So suddenly when you are in college, so you are kind of rebellious and you want to you don't appreciate your own traditional art, and you're you want to go global, and you want to be in the scene and all those things. You're young, rebellious, and you think of these things. So then again, this project, so the idea behind this project was I wanted to create these series of books, which was again inspired from the typographic references in the city. You show typography and their references, and then you talk about city's fabric. So it's not about taking rosy pictures of the city and then talk about oh, this is so and so place, this is beautiful. But then again, just looking at typography references, and then maybe talk about the city. So it's almost like a narrative, a very layered book in that fashion. So I chose Bombay as a city because I thought it has this a really layered narrative quality, and a lot of depth and a lot of grace. And so this was an attempt for the coffee table book. So the idea was to do 2 volumes of the book, where first was to document the typography in the city, and then second one would be to maybe talk about the craftsmanship that goes in the city. So if any of you if you've been to Bombay, especially Juhu and all, so earlier there were a lot of these hand painted signboards and these hand painted stalls and all that were there. Now all of that is gone now. So it's all been replaced by your new digital printing techniques and stuff. So like these are few pages, and I've kind of documented, I used to just roam around city, used to take pictures, and then later on I've kind of created this format of book, which is again like it's almost like a workbook. So when you buy this coffee table book, it allows you to do a lot of things in terms of you can add your stuff into it, and so it's almost like a kind of scrapbook, not really a scrapbook, but it's kind of workbook come coffee table book. So it's a book, then keep growing. So like you can keep adding stuff, and like it's a lifelong process. So it can keep growing as much as like a person want. Even for the cover and all, like you can, there are sections where you can you can paint your own cover if you don't like the cover and stuff like that. So if you don't like this black cover, you can change it. So when you flip it, so it has like an option where it says like you can paint your cover and stuff. Then these are the spreads. So the bottom one like again talks about like gastronomic experiences in the city. If I zoom, like you'll see again it has like all these hand painted signages and stuff. So it kinds of give like a very local flavor of the city. Like these are again the different layouts from the book. Like the bottom one again, like it talks about traffic control. Now it's physical and religious. So now the book is again like it has like a lot of topics that's been raised, but then it's again open to interpretation. So as you surf through the book, you kind of like create your own stories, and also it's almost like a guideline, and then later on you can catch up with the book. So you can go to and fro, and there's no linear fashion in which you go through the book. So like on the top, you'll see like a lot of again these nameplates and signboards, and then it talks about like identity issues and so on. Then there are a lot of these interviews which are there. Like so, I interviewed this taxi driver, and then there is on the left hand side there is an interview by this person who commutes every day, and then in between you have all these taxi graphics and all. I've almost made like a robotic stuff, because they're almost like when you feel it's like zombies walking on the roads of Mumbai. So just to, and you have interviews where like sometimes you don't reach on time and stuff like that. And then the bottom one again talks about private parking. Again, it's a handwritten font that's again like a very local flavor. So it's then kind of juxtaposition is there, where you have like these fishes hanging, and then there is always like this parking issues, like everything crammed up. And so there are a lot of these juxtapositions of images and all to create like a third meaning. So this was in college, and then when I moved out to actually look for a job. So then I realized that by doing all of this, though it was like my language, but then again, like it could be anybody else's. So, there was nothing unique, though the idea is unique, everything is unique to a certain extent, the language is unique, but like, it's not so unique that, I'll stand apart. And also, like when you go in crowd, then you realize that, you have actually left a certain part of you which you kind of you should possess, and then you've gone on to like a different tangent. So for me it was like when I went out in the industry, I realized that I've actually left something behind, and then again I'm trying to figure something which is not even mine, though I kind of enjoyed doing this. So coming back, like this is actually one of the earlier infographics from my family. It's actually my family tree. So if you'll see, like, it starts from this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this sixth one is me. So then I shuffle across this image, and then it kept me, like I kept wondering, like, whether I'm on the right path. Like, because, I'm a trained artist. I've studied design also. And I like doing interesting stuff. But then again, like, what I'm doing is actually, is it really worth it? Like that inner call which you get sometimes. So then I decided, okay, let me see if try and work out a way where I enjoy doing both. So this is actually like a sequence from like all the 6 generations in my family. So the first one being my great grandfather. Again, like these are the paintings from temples. So you see, like there is a certain graphic quality to it, and then it got into like a second gen, which was again like very devotional, and the third one again, like because of European influences, there is a lot of collage work and super juxtaposition of image, followed by again like traditional art, but like with the own subjects. And my father's work again like reinterpreting himself only as a god, and then there's certain contemporary angle to it. And the last one is mine, which is again so minimal that it's almost like symbolic. So if you'll connect it with the first one, so it almost has that similar sort of quality. So it's almost like a full circle in that way. So I got this interesting project, actually, Lekha Poddar and Anupam from Devi Art Foundation. So I met them and they said like, would you like to do something that you that resonate with your style and your roots, but something that's very contemporary. And it I kept on thinking what probably that could be. So after much ideation, iteration, they had this exhibition in Delhi, and for that I created this piece. So basically, it's a digital interpretation of Pichwai. So Pichwai is basically a backdrop of like you place this painted cloth behind Lord Srinathji. So it's an important aspect in Pushti Mark. It's a prop that reveals the temporality like of various time and space, like various festivals and all are reflected by these painted backdrops. And then again, like for me, like I used to love it, I used to appreciate it, I've even painted them, but for me as a youngster, like I wasn't relating to the whole aspect of darshan. Like I wouldn't physically go there, and like it wouldn't entice me that much. So I said, why not devise a animated series which only has like this sound and visual, and it kinds of engaging, and there is no idle nothing, but like you can have like this experience which is like a very audio visual. I took Shravan as a theme. So Shravan in Pushti Marg, like in Srinathji's Pichwai is basically monsoon season. So during like Janmashtami or Nan Mahotsav and like various occasions, they have this backdrop, which has like a lot of elements from monsoon, and basically it's a monsoon mood Pichwai. Like if you'll see, like this is a sequence, like I don't have like an animated version with me, but this is like a sequence where you'll see again the iconography, the motifs that I'm deriving are like very traditional in nature, but then there are few things that have changed now. Now one is the tool. So earlier when I was using brush, so there was a brush and mind scale, but here I'm using like vector nodes. So my tools have changed, though the idea has not changed to a certain extent. And because like those tools have changed, like comes with a certain restriction. So I mean, again, it's a process where you kind of evolve. Like, so if you'll see in my later works, like you'll know what I mean. Like, so by just trial and error and decoding stuff and doing stuff. So the final piece was something like a temple. So it had like an animated loopable motion feed. So it starts with like these rain-bearing clouds, which coming onto like this full vegetation, and then like almost like cows walking by. There are these flowers dropping from a tree. So a stuff like that. So on the left hand side, it's just I wanted to show you like a screen grab from a composite that I did. Like it actually had like some almost like 1,500 layers or 2,000 layers. But what I mean to say is, like, again, when you're painting with hand, you don't realize it has that many layers, but then when you're dealing with technology, it allows you to actually, you see it physically. I got this opportunity to work with Art Institute of Chicago. Now, this was like an exhibition called Gates of the Lord, the tradition of Krishna paintings. So the curator, Miss Madhuvanti, like she was keen to get somebody on board who understand Indian aesthetics, but then doesn't compromise in terms of the quality, and wanted something that's very contemporary and fresh. So because the primarily audience was a US audience, for them, like, they might not understand what Pichwai is, or what like Krishna is, or, there are many elements like they wouldn't understand. I held them in terms of like the aesthetics and design part of it. So this was these are few images from the exhibition itself. So like on the right hand side, like we created again, like it's a simple looking imagery of the artist house, but then again like a panoramic view. But then what we tried was like we blew it to such an extent like that it became like a very contemporary piece, because it had like these vibrant colors, and for Americans, like it was something very different, and they actually are seeing it on scale, with followed by like motifs and like colors that are again derived from Pichwai paintings, the use of arch. Now again, like if you're doing like this architecture, specifically like Rajasthani arches and all, there are certain calculations or certain proportions that you need to work with. So even a slight off, it wouldn't look nice. So things like that, then how the information will flow, like even simple elements like, wall art that is used. So like, these elephants and these Mahavats on top. So very simple elements, but how to make it like, fit into a contemporary context where they kind of, they don't feel alienated, like the landscapes of the city. So it was in a way a very interesting project. So this was again like a second aspect where you want to show them like a glimpse of Srinathji. So again, here we have used a backdrop as an animated screen, but this time it's about festivals. So it deals with like 6 to 8 different festivals which Srinathji celebrates. So, and it was interesting because the security guard over there, this young girl, she said like, I don't understand like what this is all about, but it is visually stunning. I think it's to do with God. So that was her feedback. To a certain extent, I felt that, the job is done because like, I think it's connecting to a larger audience, even if they're not understanding, it's engaging them, and it's enticing enough for them to further explore. So, and it's again like it is a very graphic, like, different parts where you have like motifs and all animated, and then depicting the exact season along with the music. So it's again like it's a loopable video feed, and it was like a whole part of the bigger installation. Then these were invite design for the event. Again, like keeping in mind like, a traditional miniature art, but then with a twist. And in this case, like again, like, even when choosing motifs and appropriations, you need to be very careful. So if you'll actually see this cow, it's with 5 legs and not 4 legs. So here, like, it's almost like an imagination where it's like a walkthrough. So it's almost like, a walk cycle. So instead of adding like, 4, like you do 5. And this is actually later on seen in the loopable video feed. So again, like in the book, like it kinds of really merge well. So the top imagery is actually the traditional miniature art, and then there is a version which is again like a very neat and clean version. So this book was designed accordingly. So if you'll see, like there's a certain relation. If you'll see this this Morkuti Pichwai, which is the second one, And you'll see there's a strong relation, though they are like completely different in terms of visual vocabulary, but it gels well. It fits in so well that, then these spreads are like interesting to just overthrow. Then there are these invites I designed for them. Now again, like this is an inspiration from Sanji art, but then what I thought would be interesting for them is like, to create that and then do like a technology twist. So here I've used laser cut technology. So these are all metallic papers, and the design has been laser cut within the paper. So it creates like this really sleek, very like cutting edge like feel to it. Like this is the another invite. So if you'll see, like it has like a nice feel to it, though it looks something which is very, traditional, but it has like a contemporary twist to it. And then again, like a lot of repetitive elements are there, which kind of becomes like a language over a period. So like we did like quite a few of like these designs. Then there was this interesting projects by Asian Paints. So this Color Next is a celebration of colors born out of imagination and research. What they do is it's a comprehensive 10 mapping exercise which they do. So they every year they kind of forecast like what would be the best colors or what would be the hit colors, national and international. And then they kind of forecast like these design themes, and then they put it into a color palette for like your home decor and stuff. So when I was roped into this project, so the idea that time was, before that usually they were doing like these brochures, and it was kind of boring because then you have like house pictures with like these color palettes, and like you show like luxury villas, and so there's nothing beyond that. I mean, it's such a boring thing to flip through. So then we came up with this idea, and I suggested like, why not do like a tarot cardish sort of like, a scheme, like a brochure, which has like, these different cards, which have like illustration, which kind of define that particular style or the particular palette. So they had like Revive, Blush, and then each one has like its unique theme and color palette. So this was the final outcome. So it was in a form of like this box, which had like these tarot cards front and back. So the second row, if you'll see like this one with a girl, and then next to it, behind it were the actual colors. Now what happens is here in this case, because this product reaches like a wider audience, like so one needs to be very careful, and we need to understand that it goes to like an architect, it goes to an interior designer, it goes to your local color vendor. Now at each step, like their job profiles are different, so they will be using it for different purposes. So if we can make it playful, where like we kind of break it down into like further sections where like an individual can use individual stuff. So let's say then we had these cards, and on the bottom if you'll see like I created like this a small like magnetic folder which had like these small booklets, which again were the color swatches. So now these would be used by someone who is in the field. So when you're in the field, you're going out, you are not going to carry this big block of a brochure with you, because it's not functional. So then how do you create a system, or how do you create a device which is kind of, can be used by everyone? And then once the job is done, like, you still, because it's a beautiful piece of art, you wouldn't want to throw it. So like say the first and third part is basically your art, so you can still use it if you want. So, create something which has like a longer life, apart from like, because this every year it will change. So it could become like a collector's item that, for 5 years you've collected. So you have like these many works of art, which can be used or not. It depends actually. Now this is again, it's a project by Red Earth. So they have this festival called Monsoon Festival. So basically they kind of, they have various activities, and like a lot of cultural activities. It's about like art, culture, design, music. So it's a festival for that. So I was roped in for festival number two, where like again the idea was to like devise a system which is uniquely Indian, but then again like it has like a very international feel to it. So this was the identity design, and after doing R&D and all, we all thought like that boat would be the perfect, icon for something like this, followed by a pinwheel. So again, like this pinwheel has like a very diversified meaning. So it is actually like a representation of palm trees in traditional miniature art. So how like a metaphor changes its context when juxtaposed with like other elements. So this is like a example for that. So it again like has like various interpretations, though the form is like so simple and abstract. It allows us to like have like multiple connotations for the same. So like I thought like there is a basic thing that people might be separated by the ideas, but the feelings remain same. So like a feeling of joy for me would be same as like for any one of you. So it can't be like completely different. Like you won't feel sad if you are like joyful. Like it's as simple as that. So working on those very simple lines, so this identity was created, and then we thoughtfully kept like different colors in this scenario, where like we wanted to make it like quite colorful and vibrant, because then it would be used on various platforms. So this was again the invite. So we thought like to start with invite, it should be something very monochrome, and and then later on, like as it slowly builds on, we kind of add colors and vibrancy and all, because again the event is such like it kinds of gradually grows, because a lot of the programs that involves like people, and it's a festival in a way. So this was invite design. So again, like at that point, like these flip flops were trending, these line flip flops. So it was like a thing, like a fashion statement at that point. So I thought, why don't use this? But because again, like each one of us like associate with flip flops, and it's a universal thing, and it's something as simple as it's a basic design element. So I chose it and then juxtaposed with like other elements to create like this invite, which I think gives a great sense of like monsoon feel to it. So it has like all the elements, and the backside you have like details, and then there is a poster. So you'll see like a gradual incorporation of colors. Then again, it's a lot of hand drawn elements are there, a lot of computer elements are there. So it's again like a juxtaposition of like a personal flavor to it, but then mixed with like a technological aspect and all. Like so these were like the website. We actually did like a sari design, which was a huge hit. Like so we designed a sari. Then these are a few posters, like magazine ads. So then after Monsoon Festival 2, I didn't do 3, and then I did 4. So the client had this idea of celebrating climate change, but it's a question like which they wanted to put across, where like where we are really celebrating, or like there is something wrong with climate. So then I thought like because it also deals with a lot of eco and like reuse and recycle and stuff like that. So I said, let me just use the old logo only and remix it and like make it like into a new one. So if you'll see, it's the same boat that I've used earlier in my previous logo. And there it had like a boat and a pinwheel. So I made like this boat looked like a pinwheel. So it's again like a remix version of the same logo that I used earlier. Then these were like t-shirts and a lot of collaterals that were done. So it says like cycle to save the world, and then recycle anything and everything. But then again, like instead of R, I've used Re, which is a Devanagari that looks like R. So it gives like a sense of like, again, that element of recycle. So sometimes like just by smartly fusing, these elements, like you could achieve something which has like a great results. These are like different posters and banners for the same. Then these are the postcards. So again, like it draws a lot of imagery from, these are different like posters for different events that's there. For the art show, again, like mixing traditional with contemporary. Like these posters for climate change, and there was some art show. Then this was like a Yamuna walk, like a curatorial walk down. Like I've added few images, so you'll kind of connect as to like what the event is and what kind of audience is there. So, then you need to understand the audience, where you have like a mix of Indians and a tourists, or like, people from all across. Like it should connect well, like your design should connect well with everyone. So even though it's like a very vernacular driven style, but then it has like a certain contemporary edge to it. So it is like considered as like a universal, So to show dirty Yamuna, like actually like, I've used like a negative spaced imagery to connote the thing, and then the whole background I made it dirty instead of making the river dirty. So there are certain, aspects that you wouldn't want to show Yamuna that way, and because otherwise there are a lot of these problems. Like anything you do, like there are a bunch of people who are ready to like, hit you by a storm. So like these are different other invites. So like how fusing tattoo with henna art, and then like, still kind of convey the idea of like Haryali Teej, which is again like a very traditional festival, Rajasthani festival, followed by a book. Now this was again another project called Genda Fool project. So the idea was to celebrate the universe of marigold. So this was like an identity design for that. So it's like a community driven project. So a lot of people are involved in like, like right from collecting flowers to, executing it, and then wanted like the end result to be like various products. So again, like the packaging here was a very locally driven kind of stuff, like, using basic stuff like chai glasses or like potlis, or, like your basic, like these mud bowls and stuff like that, and created like this work, which is again I think worked really well in terms of like a contemporary international aspect. And even like the logo itself, like it kinds of derive idea from Tree of Life, and then how the whole motif has been given a form of like a genda fool, like a marigold. So it works really well across all devices. So this was again another project. There was this exhibition called Pool 5, and it was like a take not really on Keats, but we wanted to get away from the whole idea of Keats, and then wanted to create something which is still like very Indian, and it talks to a wider audience. So in this case, then I took my inspiration from Matchbox graphics, and then I kind of like, rather than replicating the idea, which I mean, most of the designers or people do is like, they take the motifs and actually replicate it in, basically they remix it and make it into a style, which is like, they call it like a Matchbox driven inspiration and all. But in this case, like, I thought like use the elements from the Matchbox and see if like, you can create your own Matchbox in a style, because soon there would be like a digital revolution, and then like now you actually have Matchboxes that are digitally printed. Earlier the techniques were different, so this was done like way earlier. It's almost I think around 2007 something. So if you'll see like the typography and all, again, the logo for the show, it was again done in the style which is like a strip of a matchbox. And so the whole idea was derived from that. And then these brochures and everything was like derived from a very basic idea of a matchbox. Like you'll see on the bottom, like it actually, like, you'll feel these smudges and all once you use the matchbox. And also there these tiny details which are there, which makes it like a very graphic. And then I got a chance to work on this boutique hotel called Devi Ratn. Now the idea of the place was like it was inspired from the 9 gems, and like the client was really keen to use traditional Indian miniature art, and wanted to, like, have like a very contemporary twist to it. And like, for me also, like, this was actually one of the life-changing moments or life-changing projects, you can say, one of those dream projects that you do in life, like maybe once or twice max. So like it had like various challenges. So like there were, I'll show you, I'll surf you through like all the spaces that we designed. So this was like a swimming pool. It was inspired from the Leheria pattern which you have. So but then again, like, sometimes what happens is, we being a designer, like sometimes we create designs that look stunning, but then when it comes to material use, or so then you have to go to and fro, and then you really struggle because you can't achieve that same finesse that you eventually think of. So it's an important learning exercise for me. And then, like, so we did, like, some 50 plus design iterations. So that is one of the final ones. So it was then translated into a bisaza, like these tiny mosaic tiles that you use. So now, like earlier, I made design so complicated, like, anything I do, because eventually, like, what you see at the bottom, you're translating it into a pixel art. So it's, I mean, because they're tiny square pieces, so then you need to visualize it accordingly. So a lot of to and fro went in that. So after that, after much iterations, like this was like a final piece, and like we were quite happy because it was quite stunning, like diving into the pool with this very psychedelic, like, very optically fun pool. Then there were like these various room sections which had, like, various themes and stuff. So I worked with this architect called Pronit, like amazing architect. Like we had like this idea where you want to show space, and then you want to show a certain thing. So like the first one, the red image that you see, is actually like entrance of the hotel room. So we call it like a mirror room. So it's a necklace room. So there is this band of this mirrored work, which is again like a local thing, like a thikri work that you get, like, which is a mirror work that you see in the region of Rajasthan specifically. So we used that as a device, and then we did a contemporary twist to it. So we said, like, why not make it like a modern looking necklace which runs throughout the room. So as you enter, like, we wanted like some sort of godly presence, but then again, for a wide, like a majority of people, they might not connect with a certain iconography or imagery. So we said, chalo, let's play with the jewel aspect of it. So again, it's a interpretation of Srinathji, which is like a very regional, like very Rajasthani god, you can say. Like it's quite popular in Rajasthan. So we just used the jewelry element, and then we kind of replicated everywhere. So followed by a sequence of artwork which only portrayed like jewels. So the bottom one you'll see, like, again, like has jewels, but I don't know if you can see the details at the background. There's this whole tessellated pattern in dark blue, but then it actually forms the silhouette of the woman. So when you actually see it from a distance, like, so there is a lot of play in terms of like how these works are created. Like these are other spaces. So these are all like, again, like something very old, but then given a new twist to it. So it only talks about like jewelry, nothing else. Then there were these wardrobes that I designed, and it was, we called it a toy box. So essentially, like, sometimes when you put art in these room sort of spaces, it after a point becomes so boring, like, it's almost looked forced that you need a work of art. So, you just put a painting or something on the wall in a hotel room. So we said, let's make it playful. So we created these bunch of stories. So this story was about like this animal kingdom where, if I'll show you the detail, like this is the detail. So it's about the animal kingdom, and it's about like this tiger and then this metamorph tiger. So which is powerful, and each partition of that, like when you open it, so it has like a further story that is underlying under it. So it's almost like a playful piece of work. So if you're putting your clothes or you're opening, closing it, it's just a playful unit, because if you're getting bored in a room, I mean, at least you have something to just go through. So like this is a variation. So then there are various rooms, because we thought like, if a person who's a regular or who comes often wouldn't want to be in the same room. So you at least give some option, like have 4 options where you at least can choose room in that style. So this is a different story. Now this was visualized again as a animal wedding. So wedding in India is like it's very special, and it has its own charm. Like it's quite universally known. So I thought like, why don't do an animal wedding, but from a perspective of animals. So like this is the artwork for that. So you'll actually see like this groom is a monkey sitting on a donkey, and then there are like these Baratis dancing who are like bear, and also again like it's a very regional animal play, and nothing gimmicky of that sort. It's just a different world. Not that we are trying to say like weddings are like that, but and then you open up these boxes, so you have like further subsections of different, like say mehendi or those different other elements that goes into sangeet or things like that. Then these were rooms inspired from festivals. So here, like one way is to like paint the festival either on like or do like a digital print or something. But then I thought like maybe we should break it down in layers and create like a 3-dimensional work. So in this case, like, so what we did was on the top right side, if you'll see, so the whole artwork was fragmented into like this, these glass panels. So it was printed on glass panels, and when you put all of them together, it kind of give like a very 3-dimensional feel to it. So again, like how you can use like a very traditional form, but then with the use of technology and all, you can create it like an interesting, and it's a very big piece. Like it's almost like 9 feet by 4.5 feet. So it's huge. So it has like that scale to it, almost like, and then you see like a depth, like, so if you'll actually see the top side of the cloud, you can get a feel of it. So it almost looked like a very a fragmented piece, but when you see it from a certain angle, it looks like a complete piece. So these were like the artworks for the same, like again like a fragmented view of the same, like the festival and all. And then we kept everything else like very basic, so this pops out. Then these were like some like side art, you can say, for the room.
Yes, indeed, very, very creative and very vibrant looking designs. Yeah, these were. So yes, so just reminding on the time, the students have some questions as well. So we can open the floor for the questions and your task brief as well.
Okay.
Sometime, yeah.
Oh, think I've become too. So I'll quickly just surf through the work. Then I won't explain it much, okay?
Yes, sir.
So these are different rooms. So you have like these, like I've kept like a lot of, on the first left-hand side image, you will see a lot of these white birds that are left empty. So these are again like lenticular art, which has like these motion and flickering images. So then you see like these birds are mirror cut birds and then flowing into the room and stuff. And then these are few see album cover art. These are all album cover art designs. This is interesting. This one I would like to just quickly take through. So basically, I used to do like these postcard for this company called Bungalow 8. So the whole brief was just to create 8, no matter what we do. So like for almost like a decade, I have created like invites which only has 8. So it's quite interesting how local flavor of the, like you using local elements and local design. It's a store which is about fashion and art store. So like these are all the designs for that. Again, these are for other events, few designs. You can see that it's for a show. Some hotel spaces, again, like using elements and creating the whole universe. Again, like use of mirror work, but in a very contemporary manner. Room spaces, identity. This one again, like quickly, I'll tell you, like this is a motion piece. So client wanted something like a Pixar, but the name of the company was Sri Jagannath Entertainment Private Limited. So anything you do with God here is a crime. So how to deal with humor and at the same time, so we created this thing where like the god's eyes are talking and they are mischievous while he's sleeping. So it's a whole take on that. So it has like a light humor, but then at the same time, like it's a great story that you can actually put by using elements and not really fiddling with god. And then these are various other in-house promos. So this is all my motion graphic stuff. So how a simple element like a sphere, you create the whole story around it by using elements and stuff. These are all motion graphic works. This is again like stop motion animation. Again, using very basic like the whole idea of Kida that we call, which is a very very Indian way, like Kida. So then we actually like visually translated that Kida, where this worm kinds of create like these funny things and eventually it turns into a Hangama logo. Some channel packaging, some t-shirt design, some project for Samsung, this illustration which they used for this Samsung Galaxy J2 when they launched. So they did like the whole theme. This is some of my art. This is at T2 Bombay Airport. So like we played with like material. And this is something I did during my COVID. So it was art during my COVID time. So actually after many years, like I got back to like art because there was nothing else to do at home. So this was actually a big work, like 14 by 2.5 feet. It's quite like detailed, like so. Then these are some other works. So how like a graphic design practice has actually like helps you to even when I'm doing like art, it has like a certain quality of like those graphic elements and stuff. So these are all hand painted. This is not computer. Again, like a reinterpretation of Mir Sayyid Ali's Nightmare in the City. So we like I converted into a wine party sort of theme. And these are some works. These are some digital works. This is how it looks. So this is what I'm lately doing now. I'm really enjoying doing these. So apart from my other design projects, like lately I've been enjoying doing these sort of. So from my first screen to this screen, you would now understand like the transition and how gradually, if you keep on working on like your style, but not compromising on the ideas and stuff. I mean, you can have your voice which is distinct, but at the same time acceptable universally. So yeah, thank you.